Hey guys, Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King here, just sort of doing some videos. I know I promised a Megacolony video a long time ago, but honestly some things been pretty deep recently. I lost family members, my job. Hopefully I'll get a job back Friday. But that's why you haven't really been seeing me. Hopefully I'll be employed by the time this comes out. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. It's in the Lord's hands and all that jazz. Uh, Anyway, I was requested to do a deck profile. Sorry, I don't really remember your name as of the recording of this, but this is for you, kid. I hope you enjoy it. Now, we have had the Darkface support and other Megacolony support released for the new technical booster, but I'm not too worried about that right now. It is not available in English. For a starter, we're using Crime Bug. He goes into the soul, a G-Break 1, choose a rearguard, tap it until end of turn. It cannot intercept and cannot be restood, or cannot be stood until the next stand phase. So basically, can't stand during your opponent's next stand phase. So basically, if let's say a lot of abilities in Megacolony are to do with the opponent having no tapped units. What this guy can do is he can just go into the soul and say, nah. Tap it, stun it, done. It's pretty great like that. So if they're trying to be smart, you can just stop them from being smart. Also, this is one of the couple things here that can really help stun at least 3 units of a field with something, namely Darkface. So, he's pretty good to have. Honestly, it's not that he's a bad starter, it's that other starters have more effect on the game. And we're kind of jealous of them, which is why we're a criminal syndicate, right, guys? Right? Am I the only one in a criminal syndicate? I don't know. Earth Dreamer. Put this unit onto the top of the deck. G-Break 1. At the beginning of your opponent's ride phase, if the number of opponent's rearguards tapped is 3 or more, in other words, 3 units have been stunned, at least, you may pay the cost. If you do, return this to deck and draw 2 cards. So basically, I have used like a full field of these one time to draw 8 cards. Now, this is one of the reasons why you deck out very quickly with this deck. Not because this deck has super draw, it's that it just goes through it a lot. So, you have to be careful about using this card because it is 2 cards from deck, 1 card returned. But it's good. It's worth playing even then. Just got to be real careful. And then I run 8 crit. I run these crit just because I like them. There's a machining crit that has an ability, but I really don't feel like wasting the counter blasts. 4 heals, best art, best girl. Then for grade 1s, I run a little bit of a different build, but one I'm actually really starting to like. It's the 3-3-3-4 build. 4 G-Guards, because I need that on flip. 3 Unlimiters. This makes Limit Break 4 active. I use it to break ride. Also as a 7k booster. This deck doesn't really have very good boosters, and having some things running around that can is always great. Especially when I run my no interceptors. 3 Stride Enablers. I do run these as boosters if I need to get my hands on some dark faces. And then 3 Brilliant Blisters who I use to boost. But what he does is, when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle from hand, choose an opponent's Vanguard and that unit cannot stand. Basically, let's say that they're attacking you with the Ace. With Dota. When this unit attacks, counterblast 2. I'm sorry, no. During your main phase, counterblast 2, and it gains the ability to discard a card, and it loses a drive check, and it gains the ability to discard a card and an Overlord. This can restand and attack again. So basically, what you do is you guard with it, and then let's say you're being smart and you're just taking the damage. So you just slap this down, and it's like, well, you paid for Stride and you paid 2 counterblast, but you're only getting 1 attack off. Ha ha. Minerva, Blau. It just shuts. Actually, this just shuts down Blau. I just slap it down on a Blau thing, and it's like, nope, never, not happening. Not that anyone really plays WoW. Mortal Asura, Kaiser, Bustard. Certain, Spectral, and the Shadow Paladin restanders. So, like, PBA. Like, here's the thing. There are too many top-tier decks where this is useful. That's really all I can say about it. So like even if you don't, even if you don't have a restander meta, it doesn't work on next stage and things that replace it, which is I think by design. But it's like one of those things. It's like, why are you guys limiting the weakest clan in Vanguard? Like, there's no clan that has less support than us. It's just weird that they're sort of putting things in to prevent countering it. And it's like, I know that these are their flagship clans like Gear Chronicle, but it's like, no love. No love. Insect lives matter. Bug lives matter. There we go. Bug lives matter. Anyway, so you'll find, I'm going to put him in the back. So you'll find my grade 2 selection a little weird. First off is 4 Toxic Troopers. Basically what this guy does is when this unit attacks, your opponent's units cannot intercept. Now, they can still be placed in the Guardian Circle from the field, but only a few things do that, and they're not worth mentioning, namely the Nova Grappler, Perfect Shield, and the Pale Moon Gimmick Perf. They're both Gimmick Perf, excuse me. Gimmick Perf is a term to describe something, a Perfect Shield that doesn't unflip, which is a G-Guard, or just acts as a Perfect. And of course, Quintet Walls are their own thing. So basically what you can do is you can boost it with, like a 7k, give it a crit trigger, all of a sudden it's a 21k that requires 2 cards from hand or a G-Guard. Guaranteed. If they don't, they're dead. Dead, I tell ya. Probably dead. Hopefully dead. I run 4 Sweet Cocktail. She's Counterblast 1. When this unit, she's an Amber clone. When this unit attacks a Vanguard and it was boosted, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose an opponent's rearguard, tap it. By the way, you don't have to tap it to use the rest of the ability. Until end of your opponent's next turn it gets, because it would do tap it then. But no, it's tap it, comma. Anyway, it's important. At the end of your turn, if this unit is at tapped, I may draw a card. It says your opponent may draw a card, but they don't mean that guy. They mean this guy, as in their unit gets the ability that me gets to draw a card. It's a little awkward, and there's no good way to word that, but I think they did it all right. And it cannot stand, and it cannot intercept. It's a pretty good card. A really good card, actually. But the thing is that it's a counterblast heavy deck. When you Darkface, you want to use his Darkface skill every turn. When you use Straggle Dipper or Stun Beetle, that's 2 counterblasts and one counterblast and 2 counterblasts respectively. There just isn't a lot you can do with it that won't turn out poorly in some way or shape or form for your costs. Megacolony has recently had 1 damage on Flipper, and it's a guy who goes into the soul for Darkface. So in other words, it's -1 in yourself for an unflip. 1 unflip. So, great. Anyway, this is Heat Elemental Dubois. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your decks for 1 card with Limit Break. Any Limit Break, so it can be Limit Break 4, Limit Break 5, Limit Break 3. Reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. This clan is all Clans and Nations. I use him basically to get my break rides off. And that's it. Honestly, if this deck wasn't focused with break rides, I'd probably replace him with like Tail Joe. But it uses break rides. What break ride, you might ask? Well, thanks for asking. We'll put the SPs in front. Unrivaled Blade Rogue Cyclomatus. I run 4. By the way, 4 of each of these, 3 of each, 4 perfect shields, 3 of each of the not perfect shields. Cyclomatus, when it's break ridden, choose your Vanguard until end of turn it gets the usual plus 10k. Tap all of your opponent's units, and all of your units cannot stand during your opponent's next stand phase. So basically, it shuts down a field. To restand their Vanguard, they have to rewrite it with another unit that doesn't have this effect. They cannot Legion out of it, they cannot Stride out of it. It's just, boom, boom, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen. Now, they can rewrite, of course, I don't restrict that, but it's just one of those things where it's difficult. Now, if this was a unlimited fight, I could use Zambaku, who I was always toying with, but I decided that Zangeki's not really worth playing. It's pretty good though, because it prevents drive checks. But basically, you can ride something like Zanbaku, which your opponent cannot um, ride without discarding a card. So basically, you can just go boop, boop, to Zanbaku and then prevent them there. Like, one of the things about Extreme Fight is that there's a lot of really funny little things like that running around. And I don't think anyone really takes advantage of them because nobody plays Extreme Fight over here. But then, that's fine. But anyway, this is, by the way, during your opponent's turn, all your opponent's Vanguard and Rearguards are tapped. This unit gets plus 2k. So, and they will always be all tapped. Most of the time, anyway. So, in other words, it's a 13k attacker on the Vanguard circle. Even if you don't stride, that's still a 23k column or so. 21k column plus a booster, 26k. So, it's still not bad. It just doesn't have twin drive. The costs do kind of get heavy when you break ride and then stride. But Paraspear does mitigate that quite a bit. Probably why he was designed in mind. I run 4. This is probably the best build in Megacolony right now. So, it's worth it. Just running it like this. Now, we're expecting Cyclomatus support because I don't see why they wouldn't. But Darkface support's getting pretty good. If they don't give any Cyclomass support and like the Darkface support doesn't have any grade 3s or anything like that, I might just keep it as is and then just add all in the Darkface support in the background and focus more on Darkface than anything else. 1 of Vectrazeus. Why? Counterblast 2, 10k. So in other words, I could hit 31k if you break ride, choose the opponent's rearguard. This unit cannot stand your opponent's stand phase. I don't use them for that ability. In fact, I don't think I've ever used this ability in a tournament game. The real reason I do it is when this unit is placed on Vanguard, retire all up grade 1 or less rearguards of all fighters. So what he does is, he wipes out Sanctuary Guard. He messes around with Laurel. He's there when I feel that, you know what, I don't like that field in grade 1 support. So I just play him and it's like, I lose usually a starter, but then again, it's not all that bad compared to what I can do. Like, sometimes I just slip in the start and it's like, you're just gonna waste it? Oh, nah, friend. Nah. And then it's like this. Bam. He's a really good card. I recommend a 1 of in every Megacolony deck just because wiping all the grade 0s and 1s from your opponent is a good thing. Now, if you're fighting like a doubles fight or a relay fight, he may not be the best choice to play ever. But he's pretty great otherwise. He also has Lord, so be careful with that. Finally, we have 3 Dark Faces. For a Dark Face build, that might seem a little odd to you. However, not really to me. Because the main thing is getting the break rides off and then using Dark Face to mess around with them while they scurry in fear. His G-Break 2 is probably one of the weirdest in the game. Soul Blast 2, when your opponent unit is placed on rearguard, you would pay the cost if you do tap it. Basically, let's say that they're playing something. They're like, yeah, I'm putting it down. I'm like, it comes in tapped, basically. Well, no, you put it down, and then he goes, you tap it. Because not everything has resist, it's pretty easy. Like, when let's say you shut down a field for Aquaforce Blue Wave. And then they're like, okay, well, I just need this full voice, and it's like, Soul Blast 2, ha, ha, ha. It's not going to work. And if you break ride, you're continuously putting things into the soul. So let's say that you get the starter 1, 2, 3, and then you break ride twice, 4, 5. Then you do this. That's 5. That's 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 0, starter, grade 1, grade 2, first break ride, second break ride, third break ride, Dark Face. That's 6 cards in Soul, which means you can do it 3 times. Now the problem is that this is an activate ability, auto ability on the opponent's turn, and also you have to be very much aware of it on the opponent's side of things. Counterblast 1, when your G-unit stride, pay the cost if you choose 2 opponent rearguards, tap them. And if the end of the opponent's next turn, they get at the end of this turn, if they're still tapped, you may draw a card, and those units cannot stand. So basically what I do see happens is some people play some stand shenanigans, like restand it, and then they forget about it and attack me, and I'm like, okay, it's still tapped, the ability still goes off, I get a card. Really, Darkface is probably one of the most consistent grade 3 stride units in the game. Like, even more than Darkface, I'm not Darkface, Char Harlot, or something like uh, Loris, just because he puts out such a presence on the opponent's field, and he has some of the most surgical abilities that you can do here to mess your opponent up to ensure victory. Remember, Megacolony does not win through force, it wins through cunning. Their special ability is called Dark Device for a reason. And by the way, he can make sure Dark Device goes off for all your cards. Honestly, I hope we see more support in the future of his caliber. Simply because he does it so well. Like, this does its job so well, this does its job so well, yet at the same time, they are not OP. Like, I don't really understand it. It's like, I know Megacolony is strong, but they feel balanced at the same time. I don't really understand. But that's not really important. So we have, for my strides, I guess I'll start off with the first stride and then go to the last stride. First off, I run 4 Parasphere. Parasphere is a really good card. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, tap all of your opponent's units. If the number of units your opponent has are 3 or more, draw a card, and this unit gets plus 5k. So he's a 31k attacker, which means that you can use him without worrying about boosters. Or you can attack for 36k, which is, like, really annoying early game. But the thing is that there's nothing that really punishes with this guy. He just sort of gives you a card and makes sure the opponent isn't being cheeky about standing its rear guards. Then we have 2 Jagged Devil. Let's get Jagged with it. There's 2 of them. If you see it hits a Vanguard, choose a rear guard in your opponent's front row and back row they cannot stand. Basically, I run him when when they don't have enough rear guards for him, which means basically a Vanguard booster, and like a front row rear guard. And when I don't have any counterblast for Straggle Dipper, or when Straggle Dipper is just a waste. Otherwise, if I'm in a good position, the opponent has stupidly put out a field, I use him to pay for Straggle Dipper's cost. Straggle Dipper, I run 2. Counterblast 1, choose a face-down card from your G-zone and turn it face up. Choose 3 of your units. Until end of turn, they get plus 1k for every opponent's unit is tapped, which means that they can get up to plus 7k. So, if your opponent's facing a Legion with a full field, like, say, Gold Paladin. So, basically, the Legion counts as 2 because they're 2 separate units as 1 unit. I know. And then Vanguard, Vanguard, Rearguard, Rearguard, Rearguard. So, basically, you choose, like, let's say that you have just one of him running around. You give him 1 7k. You don't really need to give the Vanguard a 7k, but if you got a full column, then you give that plus 14k. Because you run Sands, you attack with the 16k column, this guy. And, you sort of beat them down. Straggle Dipper is a very important card for Megacolony to have. Even though he is a counterblast that's always sorely needed by somebody else, you can still do a lot of things for it and put out more pressure than you think. One of the builds is to run the 12k attacker and the 9k booster to make 21k columns. He does help them make like 35k columns in that situation, but more like 33k, honestly. But at the same time, those cards aren't as strong as they could be, especially with all the abilities that you could be using now. Then finally, I run 4 Spear Mutant Deity Stun Beetle. G-Break 2, Counterblast 2. It was the first G-Break 2 card. Choose a face-down card of the same name. Flip it up. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, pay the cost. If you do, the opponent Vanguard cannot stand, and your opponent cannot normal ride. Basically, they have to superior ride. So let's say you do this to a Grand Blue player. They would have to spend the Counterblast 2 for their riders for it to go on to the card top. Otherwise, they could not use their skills, which does, even though you might say, well, then they can use all their skills, but it's still Counterblast 2 that they no longer have access to. And if you're smart, they don't really have Grenache to kick around. But I don't know. I'm not going to make any judgments about how smart you are. Also, things like, let's see here, certain Kagero decks. Let's see, Kagero had some like that. Then we have this. Now, you might be asking, oh, wait, Z-Zone. Oh, I just played 4 of the, I almost forgot my Guardian. G-Guards. That's funny. Huh. Whoop. First off, there's some fantastic G-Guards that are coming out next set for Megacolony, including one. I run 4 of him, and that's it. You might be like, Ben, why don't you run Dismal? This deck doesn't really need to protect its rear guards. And you might be like, well, what if a Metalborg player just starts swinging at your rear guards? I'm like, okay. You know, that's still just one. You know, it's there's a weakness to it, but it's not one I care to pander to. First off, things like Dote, hold on. Like, the thing about G-Guardians, like this, is that sure, it just one-shots Dote, but at the same time, when it's just swinging at a rear guard, but at the same time, there are very few cards that really take advantage of that. Laurel, certain Megacolony decks, and, certain Metalborg decks, Dote, are really the only ones that come to mind here as requiring special consideration. Now, if you ask me what I play on my Victor deck, I play 4 Dismals, because the rear guards are just so precious. That's the reason why Gilderay is so good in Dark Irregulars, because it makes all units have resist. You know, there's a lot of things that you can really do with this card, except for this deck, you just need 20k. I don't run Screw You because, honestly, I don't feel like discarding a card for another 5k guard. I might as well discard, you know, the 10k, the 5k, or whatever, for another 10k. The only reason you really want to run Screw You and others is if you don't put out a field ever. So in other words, things like, because of the existence of PBDDDD, you know, things that work off of you having no field. You know, that's the only reason you would have it. But honestly, you know, running, I've never had a problem with it. First off, Metalborgs isn't really a thing right now. I'm pretty much, me and Chance Thulin, the Comeback King, are really the only two who really seriously play Metalborgs. And even then, I tried out a Vanguard deck instead, and found that to be funny, not fun. It was fun for me. It was funny for everyone else. So yeah, that's how I play it. You know, there's not a lot of things that we can do with Megacolony compared with other clans. However, we do get quality every single time we get a release. Like, every single time they release a new ace, I add it into my deck. Like, it's weird. Like, as soon as they released a Break Ride, it was Break Rides all over. As soon as they released Darkface, it was just Darkface. And Machining's not really played anymore. You know, it's just one of those things where it just continues to go on, and it's evolving, it's fighting, it's survival of the fittest. You know, it's really terrifying once you think about it too hard. You know? And I think about it too hard all the time. You know, it's just one of those things. The new technical booster will have a third of the deck devoted to Megacolony, and already the cards are looking absolutely fantastic. I feel like I could be Gordon Ramsay looking at a delicious set of new ingredients. I'll no longer have to play Sweet Cocktail. I might even get a Cyclomatus deck that's just a Cyclomatus focus deck, which will free up another grade 2 slot for shenanigans. And there's always shenanigans to do. And I can even, like, remove these guys in favor of, these 4 cards in favor of the Darkface support. But we'll see. We'll see. This has been Wheeler the Mercenary King. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you do have any deck requests for me to do, please just put it on there, and when I notice it, I'll notice it. I'm afraid I don't get any, like, notifications when a comment is made, so I kind of have to be on the lookout, and I've got so many videos I don't see them. So, you know, if you when you watch this video, just comment on the video that you watched, or find the latest video that I have done, been Wheeler the Mercenary King, and I'll be happy to take care of it for you. Again, have a great day, and I'm sorry it took so long, sir. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye.